The massive ships appeared without warning above Earth's blue skies. Each one was the size of a small city, their dark metal hulls blocking out the sun in several major capitals. The ships hung there like sleeping giants, silent and threatening. Sarah. Chen stood in the emergency meeting room at the United Nations building in New York. Through the large windows, she could see one of the alien ships hovering directly overhead. Its shadow covered half of Manhattan. She was Earth's chief diplomatic officer, but nothing in her training had prepared her for this moment. The room was filled with world leaders, military commanders, and scientists. Everyone was talking at once, their voices mixing into a chaos of fear and confusion. Some wanted to attack immediately. Others suggested hiding underground. A few were already talking about surrender. "Quiet," Sarah called out, her voice cutting through the noise. "We have an incoming transmission." The large screen at the front of the room flickered to life. What appeared on it made several people gasp. The creature speaking was tall and thin, with gray skin that looked like old leather. Its eyes were completely black, and when it spoke, rows of sharp teeth became visible. "I am Admiral HFY of the Vorthak Empire," the alien said. Its voice was cold and mechanical, coming through some kind of translation device. "I speak for the Galactic Council, the ruling body of 12 civilized species in this part of the galaxy." Sarah stepped forward, even though her hands were shaking. "I am Sarah Chen, representing Earth and humanity. Why have you come here?" The alien's black eyes seemed to look right through her. "Your species has reached a level of technology that requires management. You have achieved faster-than-light travel. You have spread to other worlds in your system. This cannot be allowed to continue without proper supervision." "Supervision?" Sarah asked, though she already knew she wouldn't like the answer. "Every species must choose," Admiral HFY continued. "Submit to the Council's authority and live under our protection, or resist and face complete destruction. We have made this offer to 347 species before you. All but 12 chose wisdom over pride." General Morrison, Earth's top military commander, stood up from his chair. "And what happened to those 12 species?" The alien's mouth curved into what might have been a smile. "They are no longer a concern." The room fell silent. Sarah felt the weight of 7 billion lives pressing down on her shoulders. She looked around at the faces of Earth's leaders. Some looked ready to fight. Others looked ready to give up immediately. "You have superior technology," Sarah said carefully. "Your ships are larger than anything we've ever built. But you're asking us to surrender our freedom without even trying to negotiate." "There is nothing to negotiate," Admiral HFY replied. "You will submit, or you will be eliminated. However, the Council is not without mercy. We will give you 72 hours to make your decision. Consider it a gift." 72 hours, Sarah repeated. She felt something strange happening inside her mind. Instead of fear, she was beginning to feel something else, something that made her want to smile. "That's very generous of you." The alien tilted its head as if confused by her tone. "Do not mistake our mercy for weakness, human. Our fleet contains enough firepower to turn your planet into dust. Your primitive weapons cannot harm us." Sarah nodded slowly. "I'm sure you're right about that." She paused, and then said something that surprised even herself. "We accept your generous offer of 72 hours to consider our options." Several world leaders started to protest, but Sarah held up her hand to stop them. She was still looking at the alien on the screen, and now she was definitely smiling. Admiral HFY seemed taken aback by her calm response. "You accept?" "We accept the time limit," Sarah clarified. "We'll use every minute of those 72 hours to make our decision." "Thank you for your patience." The alien stared at her for a long moment. "You should use that time to prepare your surrender documents. Any attempt at resistance will only make your end more painful. We understand, Sarah said, her smile growing wider. Is there anything else? Admiral HFY looked confused now. In his experience, primitive species either begged for mercy or made empty threats. This human was doing neither. No. We will await your answer in exactly 72 hours. The screen went black, leaving the room in stunned silence. What the hell are you smiling about? Demanded President Martinez of the Americas Union. They just threatened to destroy our entire planet. Sarah turned to face the room. Her smile was gone now, replaced by a look of intense focus. General Morrison, please activate Protocol 7. The general's eyes went wide. Are you sure? Once we activate that, there's no going back. I'm sure, Sarah said firmly, and somebody get me a direct line to Director Hayes at Luna Base. As people began moving around the room, making calls and opening secure communication channels, the French president grabbed Sarah's arm. What is Protocol 7? What aren't you telling us? Sarah looked out the window at the alien ship hanging over Manhattan. Those aliens made one very important mistake, she said quietly. What mistake? They assumed that what they can see is all we have. Sarah's smile returned, but this time it was different. This time it looked almost predatory. They think we're primitives because our public technology looks primitive. They don't understand that humans learned a long time ago to keep their most dangerous toys hidden. The room was starting to buzz with activity now. Secure phones were ringing, computer screens were lighting up with encrypted messages, and people were speaking in code words that most of the world leaders didn't recognize. 72 hours, Sarah said to herself, watching the alien ship through the window. They have no idea what they've just given us. Outside, the alien fleet waited in the darkness of space. 12 different species, all confident in their superiority, all certain that this would end like it always did, with another primitive world kneeling before the might of the Galactic Council. But deep beneath Earth's surface, in hidden bunkers and secret facilities that didn't appear on any public map, other humans were already moving. They had been waiting for this day for 50 years, planning for it, preparing for it. The aliens had given humanity 72 hours to surrender. Humanity was going to use every single minute of those 72 hours to show them exactly why. That was the biggest mistake they had ever made. The countdown had begun, but the aliens had no idea what they were counting down to. High above Earth, Admiral HFY stood on the bridge of his command ship, watching the small blue planet below. Around him, officers from the 12 council species worked at their stations. The Vorthak were known for their military skill. The Kalari handled communications. The massive Gorvak controlled the weapons systems. All of them were confident that this would be another easy victory. Any response from the humans? HFY asked his communications officer. Nothing, Admiral, replied the insect-like Kalari, its 4 arms dancing over the control panel. Their military bases show no signs of mobilization. Their ships remain in dock. Their communication networks are quiet. HFY frowned. This was unusual. Most species spent their final hours either preparing hopeless defenses or sending desperate messages to anyone who might help them. The humans were doing neither. Perhaps they are paralyzed by fear, suggested Commander Thack, a Gorvak whose thick hide was covered in battle scars. Some primitives simply shut down when faced with superior force. Maybe, HFY said, but something felt wrong. In his 300 years of military service, he had conquered dozens of worlds. He knew how primitives behaved. This silence was different. Far below, on Earth's surface, the silence was deceiving. In the hidden command center beneath the mountains of Colorado, Director Elizabeth Hayes watched dozens of screens showing data streams from across the solar system. She had been waiting for this day since she was a young officer, fresh out of the academy. The command center didn't officially exist. According to public records, this mountain contained nothing but old mining tunnels. In reality, it housed the most advanced technology humanity had ever created. Technology that had been developed in secret for 50 years, ever since the first radio signals from space had been detected. Status report, Hayes said to her staff. All ghost stations are online, reported her aide, Lieutenant Commander Park. The outer ring is in position. Luna Base has confirmed weapons hot. The Mars colonies are standing by. Hayes nodded. The ghost stations were humanity's best-kept secret. Hidden throughout the solar system, disguised as research outposts, mining facilities, and communication relays, they were actually the most sophisticated weapons platforms ever built. The aliens had been scanning the system for 3 days now, and they had detected nothing suspicious. What about the Trojans? Hayes asked. All 57 are operational and undetected, Park replied. The alien scans pass right through them. Hayes smiled. The Trojan network was her personal favorite project. Using advanced stealth technology, 57 automated weapons platforms had been placed at Lagrange points throughout the solar system. They looked like empty space to any scanner. They would remain invisible right up until the moment they opened fire. Back on the Council flagship, Admiral HFY was receiving reports from his fleet commanders. 12 different species, each contributing their expertise to what should be an overwhelming force. The Nexari report no unusual energy signatures, said his intelligence officer. The Polari detect no hidden weapons. The humans appear to have exactly what our scouts reported. Primitive kinetic weapons and basic energy shields. What about their ship movements? HFY asked. Minimal. A few cargo vessels moving between their inner planets. Some research ships near their outer planets. Nothing that could threaten us. HFY studied the tactical display. The human military presence was laughably small, a few dozen ships, none larger than a Council patrol vessel. Their orbital defense platforms were clearly visible and appeared to use technology that was centuries behind Council standards. But the silence still bothered him. Open a channel to their leadership, he ordered. On Earth, Sarah Chen was back in the UN building when the call came through. This time, she wasn't nervous. 48 hours had passed since the ultimatum, and she knew exactly what was happening. In the hidden facilities around the world. Admiral, she said politely when HFY's image appeared on the screen. How can I help you? I am curious about your silence, the alien said. Most species use their final hours to prepare defenses or send calls for help. You have done neither. Sarah shrugged. We're considering our options, just like you suggested. Your options are limited, HFY said coldly. Surrender, or be destroyed. There is nothing else. I suppose that's true, Sarah agreed. But we like to be thorough. We want to make sure we fully understand what we're deciding between. This answer seemed to confuse the Admiral even more. What is there to understand? You cannot defeat us. Your technology is primitive. Your ships are few. Your weapons are weak. Sarah nodded thoughtfully. You're probably right about all of that. Tell me, Admiral, how many worlds have you conquered using this same approach? 347. HFY replied with pride. And they all surrendered when faced with your overwhelming force? Most of them. A few tried to resist, but they were quickly eliminated. I see, Sarah said. So you've never actually fought against a species that was prepared for you? HFY's black eyes narrowed. Prepared? How does one prepare for the inevitable? Sarah's expression didn't change, but something in her eyes grew colder. I wouldn't know. I've never faced the inevitable before. The Admiral stared at her for a long moment. You have 24 hours remaining. I suggest you use them wisely. Oh, we intend to, Sarah said. Thank you for checking in. The transmission ended, leaving HFY more confused than ever. There was something about that human's tone that he didn't like. She spoke like someone who knew something he didn't. Double the sensor sweeps, he ordered. I want to know about every ship, every station, every piece of metal in this system. Yes, Admiral, his officers replied, but their sensors found nothing new. The humans appeared to have exactly what they had always appeared to have, a small, primitive fleet with outdated weapons. What the sensors couldn't detect were the quantum-encrypted communication signals flowing between every human facility in the solar system. They couldn't see the nanite factories hidden inside seemingly innocent asteroids. They couldn't penetrate the stealth fields protecting the real weapons platforms. Most importantly, they couldn't detect the thousands of humans who had spent their entire careers preparing for this exact moment. People like Director Hayes, who had dedicated her life to a simple philosophy: hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. 24 hours, Hayes said to her staff. Final preparations. I want every system checked twice. When this starts, we won't get a second chance. Around the solar system, humanity's hidden defenders made their final preparations. The ghosts were ready to become real. The silence was about to become very, very loud. The Galactic Council was about to learn that sometimes, when facing the inevitable, the best response is to change what's inevitable. The 72 hours were up. Admiral HFY stood on his bridge, surrounded by the commanding officers of all 12 Council species. They had gathered to witness what they expected to be another routine surrender. The display screens showed Earth hanging peacefully in space, seemingly defenseless and waiting for judgment. Open a channel to the human leadership, HFY commanded. Sarah Chen appeared on the screen, standing in the same UN conference room where this had all started. She looked calm, almost relaxed. Behind her, HFY could see other human leaders, and none of them appeared to be in distress. Admiral, Sarah said with that same strange smile. Right on time. Your 72 hours have expired, HFY announced formally. The Galactic Council requires your answer. Will you submit to our authority, or must we proceed with your elimination? Sarah was quiet for a moment, as if considering the question seriously. Then she looked directly into the camera, and her smile grew wider. We've given your offer a lot of thought, she said, and we've decided to respectfully decline. A murmur went through the council officers on the bridge. HFY himself felt a moment of surprise. After all their conversations, after seeing the overwhelming force arrayed against them, the humans were still choosing to resist. You realize what this means? HFY asked. I think I do, Sarah replied. But before we begin, I want to thank you for something. Thank us? For the 72 hours, and for being so patient with our questions. You've taught us a lot about how the Council operates. HFY felt the first stirring of unease. What do you mean? Sarah's expression grew more serious. You see, Admiral, you made an assumption about us. You assumed we were helpless because we haven't shown you our weapons. But here's the thing about humans. We learned a long time ago that showing your weapons is often the worst way to use them. Your primitive technology cannot harm us, HFY said, but his voice carried less certainty than before. You keep calling us primitive, Sarah said. I'm curious about that. What makes you think we're primitive? Your ships are small and slow. Your weapons use simple kinetic energy. Your defenses are basic energy shields. Sarah nodded. That's what you can see, yes. But tell me, Admiral, in all your scans of our system, did you ever wonder why a species that's supposedly so primitive managed to spread to 6 different planets in just 50 years? HFY didn't answer, but his black eyes narrowed. Did you ever wonder, Sarah continued, why our primitive ships seem to disappear from your sensors whenever they go behind our planets or moons? Did you ever question why our basic communication networks use quantum encryption that your best code breakers can't crack? On the bridge, the Kalari communications officer looked up from his station. Admiral, I'm detecting some kind of energy buildup throughout the system. Where? HFY demanded. Everywhere, sir. It's like... Like the entire system is powering up. Sarah was still speaking. You see, we've been listening to your communications for 3 days now. Your neural link technology broadcasts on a very specific frequency. Did you know that? We've mapped every single command channel in your fleet. The council officers were starting to look nervous. Commander Thak, the Gorvak weapons specialist, was checking his tactical displays with increasing urgency. What are you saying? Zexhai asked, though he was beginning to suspect he didn't want to know the answer. I'm saying that you're about to learn why humans are still alive despite living on a planet that's been trying to kill us for millions of years. Sarah's smile was gone now, replaced by an expression of cold determination. We don't fight fair, Admiral. We fight to win. Suddenly, alarms began sounding throughout the council fleet. The space around them, which had been empty just moments before, was now filled with contacts. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. Report! Zexhai shouted. Ships decloaking throughout the system. His sensor officer called out. No, wait, not ships. They're platforms of some kind. Weapons platforms. How many? Zexhai demanded. I'm counting over 200 major installations, Admiral, and that's just the ones that have decloaked. There could be more. On the screen, Sarah was still watching them calmly. For 50 years, we've been preparing for the day when someone like you would arrive. Every asteroid we mined, every research station we built, every communication relay we installed, they all had a secondary purpose. Impossible, breathed Commander Thak. Our sensors would have detected weapons of that magnitude. Would they? Sarah asked. Your sensors look for energy signatures, metal compositions, and quantum resonances that match known weapons technologies. But what if we built our weapons using principles you've never seen before? What if we designed them specifically to be invisible to the kind of scans the Council normally uses? The tactical display on Zexhai's bridge was now showing a nightmare scenario. The entire solar system was revealed to be a massive fortress. What they had thought were civilian installations were actually weapons platforms. What they had taken for empty space was filled with stealth ships. What they had assumed was a primitive defense network was actually the most sophisticated military installation any of them had ever seen. This is impossible, Zexhai said. No. Species develops technology this advanced while appearing primitive to our scouts. Sarah shrugged. Maybe your scouts only saw what we wanted them to see. Maybe when you're facing a species that's conquered hundreds of worlds, the smart thing to do is make sure they don't know what you're really capable of until it's too late. You're bluffing, Zexhai said, but his voice shook slightly. Even if you have hidden weapons, you cannot defeat the combined might of 12 species. Maybe not, Sarah agreed. But Admiral, let me ask you something. In all your conquests, have you ever fought against a species that was actually trying to kill you? What do you mean? I mean, most species fight to defend themselves. They try to protect their ships, their people, their planets. But what if you faced a species that had decided the only acceptable outcome was your complete defeat? A species that was willing to sacrifice everything to make sure you could never threaten anyone else again. The alarms on Zexhai's bridge were getting louder. His officers were reporting massive power buildups from the human weapons platforms, energy readings that suggested weapons far more advanced than anything they had expected. What do you want? Zexhai asked, and for the first time, there was fear in his voice. Sarah's expression softened slightly. We want to be left alone, Admiral. We want to explore the galaxy in peace, trade with whoever will have us, and build a better future for our children. But if the choice is between freedom and survival, we choose freedom every time. And if we withdraw, then you go home, and you tell the Council that Earth is not interested in joining their empire. You tell them that humanity prefers to handle its own affairs, and you warn them that any future attempts at conquest will be met with responses that make today look like a gentle conversation. Zexhai looked around his bridge at the faces of officers from 12 different species. All of them were staring at the tactical displays, trying to understand how they had been so completely outmaneuvered. "You have 1 minute to decide," Sarah said quietly. After that, we stop talking and start shooting. The countdown had begun again, but this time, it was the Galactic Council that was running out of time. Admiral Zexhai stared at the countdown timer on his display. 53 seconds remaining. Around him, his bridge crew waited for orders, but he had no idea what to command. In 3 centuries of military service, he had never faced a situation like this. "Admiral," his weapons officer called out, "the humans are targeting our neural link transmitters." "How is that possible?" demanded Commander Thack. "Those frequencies are classified at the highest levels." "Sir," the communications officer added, "they're also jamming our quantum channels. Somehow they know our entire communication protocol." Zexhai felt sweat forming on his gray skin. The humans hadn't just hidden their weapons. They had studied Council technology in detail. They knew exactly how to disrupt the very systems that held the fleet together. 30 seconds. All ships, prepare for immediate withdrawal, Zexhai ordered. "Sir," his navigation officer said, "the humans have deployed some kind of field generators. Our jump drives are being interfered with." "What?" Zexhai spun toward the tactical display. Sure enough, energy readings throughout the system showed massive interference fields surrounding the entire Council fleet. They were trapped. 15 seconds. On the screen, Sarah Chen was still watching them. Her expression was calm, but her eyes were hard as steel. 10 seconds, Admiral," she said softly. "Wait!" Zexhai called out. "We surrender!" Sarah raised an eyebrow. "I'm sorry, what was that?" "We surrender," Zexhai repeated, the words bitter in his mouth. "We withdraw our demand for Earth's submission." "That's interesting," Sarah said. "But I'm afraid surrender isn't really an option right now." "What do you mean?" "I mean you came here with the intention of conquering or destroying my world. You threatened 7 billion innocent people. Did you really think we would just let you leave so you could go threaten someone else?" The countdown reached 0. What happened next would be talked about in military academies across the galaxy for centuries to come. The humans didn't open fire with massive energy weapons or launch waves of missiles. Instead, they did something far more terrifying. They demonstrated perfect control. Every Council ship in the fleet suddenly found itself surrounded by a cloud of tiny objects. Millions of them, each no larger than a grain of sand, but moving with purpose and intelligence. "Nanites," whispered the Kalari communications officer. "They've deployed combat nanites." The tiny machines swarmed over the Council ships like living things, but instead of tearing the hulls apart, they began doing something much more precise. They disconnected power couplings, they severed communication lines, they disabled weapons. Without destroying them, one by one, the mighty Council warships went dark. "Sir," called out the engineering officer on Zexhai's bridge, "we're losing power to all non-essential systems. Life support is holding, but everything else is going offline." At the same time, the human weapons platforms throughout the system powered up to full capacity. Energy readings spiked to levels that the Council's sensors couldn't even measure properly. But the weapons didn't fire. They just waited, like predators watching their prey. "Impressive," Sarah said from the screen. "Your ships are still intact. Your crews are still alive, and you can still communicate with us. But you can't move, you can't fight, and you definitely can't run." Zexhai felt a chill run down his spine. The humans had just neutralized an entire Council fleet without killing a single person. The precision required for such an attack was beyond anything he had ever imagined. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now," Sarah said, "we have a conversation. A real one this time." The main display on Zexhai's bridge suddenly changed. Instead of showing tactical information, it now displayed a detailed map of the galaxy. But this wasn't any map the Council used. This showed shipping routes, communication networks, and military deployments for hundreds of different species. This is Council intelligence data, HFY said in shock. How did you access our secured networks? We've been listening to your communications for decades, Sarah explained. Every time one of your ships passed through this part of the galaxy, we learned a little more about how your empire works. We know about your trade agreements, your military bases, your political alliances. We know which species joined you willingly, and which ones were conquered. That's impossible. Our encryption is unbreakable, Sarah smiled. Admiral, let me explain something about humans. We come from a world where everything is trying to kill us. The weather, the animals, the diseases, even the plants. We survived by becoming very, very good at solving problems that seem impossible. The display changed again, now showing detailed schematics of Council ship designs. Every weakness, every vulnerability was highlighted in red. We've had 50 years to study your technology, Sarah continued. Every piece of debris from your battles, every signal from your communications, every scan of your ships. We know exactly how everything you build works. Commander Thak leaned forward. If you know so much about us, then you know we have reinforcements. Entire fleets that will come looking for us. Actually, Sarah said, we've already sent messages to those fleets. Using your own communication codes, of course. As far as they know, you've successfully conquered Earth and are proceeding to your next target. They won't be coming to look for you. The bridge fell silent. The scope of humanity's preparation was becoming clear. This wasn't just a defensive operation. It was a complete intelligence victory. What do you want from us? HFY asked quietly. Right now, we want you to listen, Sarah said. For the past hour, we've been broadcasting a message to every species in this part of the galaxy. We're telling them that Earth is now an independent world, protected by technologies that can defeat Council fleets. We're offering trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and mutual defense pacts to anyone who's interested. You're trying to break up the Council, HFY realized. We're offering alternatives to the Council, Sarah corrected. Species that want to remain under your protection are welcome to do so. But species that want something different now know they have options. The communications officer looked up from his station. Admiral, we're receiving thousands of messages from across the galaxy. Many of them are from species asking about Earth's offer. The Council has brought order to the galaxy, HFY said, but his voice lacked conviction. The Council has brought conformity, Sarah replied. Order at the cost of freedom. Peace through fear. That works for some species, but not for all of them. And definitely not for us. So what happens to us? Sarah was quiet for a moment, studying the defeated Council fleet on her displays. When she spoke again, her voice was gentler. You're going to go home, Admiral. All of you. Your ships will be repaired. Your crews will be fed. And you'll be given safe passage out of our system. Just like that? Just like that. But you're going to carry a message back to the Council. You're going to tell them that humanity is not interested in conquest or empire. We don't want to rule anyone or be ruled by anyone, but we will defend ourselves, and we will help others defend themselves if they ask for our help. HFY looked around his darkened bridge. And if the Council decides to return with a larger fleet? Sarah's expression grew cold again. Then they'll discover that what happened today was just a demonstration. A gentle introduction to what humanity is capable of when we're really trying. The Admiral felt another chill. If this was just a demonstration, what would a real human attack look like? He was beginning to think he never wanted to find out. 3 days later, Admiral HFY stood in the detention facility that humanity had built for the Council prisoners. He had expected cells, chains, and guards with weapons. Instead, he found something that confused him even more than their military: defeat. The facility looked like a hotel. Each council officer had their own private room with a comfortable bed, a desk, and a window showing Earth's blue skies. The food was better than what they served on council ships. The human guards were polite and helpful. When Commander Thack had complained about the temperature, they had adjusted it within an hour. "This makes no sense," the Gorvak had grumbled. "Why are they treating us so well? We came here to destroy them." Now, as HFY walked through the facility's common area, he watched his officers from 12 different species talking quietly among themselves. Many of them looked confused. Some looked thoughtful. A few even looked ashamed. A human woman approached him. She was middle-aged, with graying hair and kind eyes. "Admiral HFY? I'm Dr. Rebecca Martinez. I've been assigned as your cultural liaison." Cultural liaison? Someone to help you understand what's happening here, and to answer any questions you might have about humanity. HFY studied her face. "You're not afraid of us." "Should I be?" Dr. Martinez asked with a gentle smile. "You're prisoners in a secured facility, surrounded by the most advanced military technology in the galaxy. But more importantly, you're guests. Unwilling guests, perhaps, but guests nonetheless." "Guests," HFY repeated. "We came here to conquer your world. Yes, but you failed. And now you're here, learning about us whether you want to or not." Dr. Martinez gestured toward a group of human engineers who were working with some of the council technical officers. "Your ship repairs are going well, by the way. My colleagues tell me your vessel should be ready for departure tomorrow. And then? Then you go home, with a message from humanity to the Galactic Council." Dr. Martinez led him to a quiet corner where they could talk privately. Through the large windows, HFY could see human and alien technicians working together on the council ships. The humans were not just repairing the damage from their nanite attack. They were actually improving several systems. "Why?" HFY asked suddenly. "Why what? Why are you helping us? Why aren't you executing us as war criminals? Why aren't you demanding tribute or hostages? This isn't how conquering species behave." Dr. Martinez was quiet for a moment. "Admiral, can I tell you something about human history?" HFY nodded. "For most of our existence, humans fought each other. We had wars that lasted decades. We built weapons that could destroy our entire planet. We conquered and enslaved and killed in numbers that would shock even the Council. What changed? We learned that winning a war and building a peace are two completely different things. You can defeat an enemy, but if you want them to stop being your enemy, you have to give them a reason to choose cooperation over revenge." HFY thought about this. "The Council rules through strength. Those who submit are protected. Those who resist are eliminated." "And how's that working out?" Dr. Martinez asked. "How many rebellions do you deal with each year? How many species are constantly looking for ways to break free? How much of your resources go toward keeping your empire together instead of making it better?" The Admiral didn't answer, but his expression said everything. "Humans tried the empire approach, Dr. Martinez continued. "It always ends the same way. Empires fall, Admiral, all of them. The only question is whether they fall quickly in violence or slowly as people find better alternatives. So you're offering an alternative. We're offering choices. Species that want to remain with the Council are welcome to do so. Species that want something different can work with us. Species that want to be left alone will be left alone. And if the Council refuses to accept this?" Dr. Martinez's expression grew more serious. "Then the Council will discover that humans are much better at making friends than enemies, and in a galaxy full of species who are tired of being conquered, that's a very dangerous thing for an empire." Later that evening, HFY was in his room when his communication device activated. Sarah Chen's face appeared on the screen. "Admiral, I hope you're comfortable." "As comfortable as a prisoner can be?" HFY replied. "Good. I wanted to talk to you before you leave tomorrow. There are some things you need to understand about what happened here." "I'm listening." Sarah was quiet for a moment, choosing her words carefully. What you saw was not humanity at full strength, Admiral. It was humanity being careful. We used precisely the amount of force necessary to neutralize your threat without causing unnecessary casualties. You're saying you held back. I'm saying we solved the problem with the minimum necessary violence. But, Admiral, I want you to understand something very clearly. If the Council returns with a larger fleet, if you threaten Earth again, if you harm any of our allies or trading partners, then you'll see what humanity looks like when we stop being careful. HFY felt a chill run down his spine. What would that look like? I hope you never find out. But just so we're clear, the weapons you saw today, the nanites, the stealth platforms, the interference fields, those were our police tools, the things we use when we want to arrest someone without hurting them. And your military tools? Sarah's expression grew very cold. Admiral, humans come from a world where the sky rains poison, the ground explodes without warning, and microscopic organisms can kill you in minutes. We spent millions of years learning to fight threats that make your worst nightmares look like children's games. When we really want to destroy something, we don't just kill it. We make it so that it never existed in the first place. The transmission ended, leaving HFY alone with his thoughts. The next morning, as the Council fleet prepared to depart, Admiral HFY stood on his bridge looking at Earth one last time. His ships had been repaired and improved. His crew had been fed and treated well. Several of his officers had actually exchanged contact information with human scientists and engineers. "Set course for the Council homeworld," he ordered. "Yes, Admiral," his navigation officer replied. "Estimated arrival in 47 days. Sir," his communications officer added, "we're receiving departure clearance from Earth Traffic Control. They're wishing us a safe journey." HFY nodded. "Acknowledge their message and send our thanks for their hospitality." As the Council fleet jumped to hyperspace, leaving Earth's solar system behind, HFY began composing his report to the Council leadership. It would be the most difficult report he had ever written. He would have to explain how humanity had completely outmaneuvered the most powerful military force in the galaxy. He would have to describe weapons and technologies that seemed impossible. He would have to admit that the Council's conquering days might be over. But most importantly, he would have to convey Sarah Chen's final message to the Council. Humanity doesn't want to be your enemy. But if you force us to choose between freedom and peace, we will choose freedom every time, and we will help others make the same choice. The galaxy was about to change. And for the first time in his long military career, Admiral HFY wasn't sure that was a bad thing. In the depths of space, other species were already responding to humanity's broadcasts. Trade requests were coming in. Alliance proposals were being discussed. Some species were even asking for help in defending themselves against Council expansion. The empire that had ruled for 1,000 years was about to discover that sometimes the greatest victory is convincing your enemies that they don't want to fight you anymore. And humanity, the species that had learned to survive on a world that constantly tried to kill them, was about to teach the galaxy a new way to live.